Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We have a great session for you today. It's in advance of our second annual WashU Olin Big Idea Bounce Contest, where the winner, a would-be entrepreneur or an actual entrepreneur, could win $50,000. That's a top prize for his or her business idea. We're going to have with us the academic director of entrepreneurship at the Olin Business School, Doug Vilhard, but also two of the leaders of the team that won last year's competition from PedalCell. We'll have the CEO, David Hoken, and we will have the CMO, David Harper, who'll talk about their role in the contest last year and their idea as well. Let me first introduce Doug, who's going to give us a recap of last year's event.
Yeah, great. Thanks, John. Thanks for being here. PedalCell team, it's great to see you all again. Thought I'd just pop up a little slide here. So we have this big contest coming up again, the Olin's Big Idea Bounce, a chance to win $50,000 for your business idea, and the deadline to register is January 15th. And I won't play the sound here. I'll just play some images here while we talk about it, but you can get a sense of what our competition was like last year. As teams from all over the world applied. We got it down to, it was very hard, John. We got down to the top three. PedalCell was one of them. We basically filmed a television show. Here you can see it in St. Louis, and the big check at the end. PedalCell, congratulations again for winning that. So it was a really neat event in our first year last year. We look forward to doing it again this year. So and it's super exciting having Adam and David back. In fact, you know, Adam and David, what is your business and how's it going?
Yeah, thank you both for inviting us back to speak. We just had an excellent time last year, and it's so exciting to see that the competition is happening again in 2023. It was just a great experience for us. The business has been going great. We've been making some very serious strides in multiple parts of our business. Funny enough, most of which are actually what we spoke about at the competition. We predicted quite well the main primary improvement areas for us, which we're happy to talk about specifically, but things are going pretty well for us. We're making some pretty large expansions, especially overseas with our business, and growth has been very solid.
What's the quick pitch for what PedalCell is?
Totally. PedalCell is a power source for long distance cyclists to keep their batteries fully charged on their essential USB devices on their trips. So if you're going on a trip on your bicycle, it's say into the wilderness or the desert for, it could be a week or 2 weeks or just a few days. Obviously power is not something you'll have access to, and our product ensures that you're able to stay charged up throughout that time and not have to worry about stopping at a random coffee shop or gas station or restaurant with a wall outlet for your devices to charge back up.
And one thing I would say is how professional they were in presenting your idea. I mean, you guys were smooth. You answered every question really well. You were clearly well prepared for the competition.
Thank you.
I know one of the fun memories Adam and I have from the competition is just the pressure that you feel from it in a good way, because you get flown in. I mean, it's not just that you have to come for this, but it was basically all expenses paid. We had food vouchers. And so it felt like there was a big deal. There was a lot of, professional camera crews and teams. And so we really wanted to make sure we are bringing our best to represent the hard work we put into PedalCell. And for PedalCell, because it's hardware, we'd spent a lot of time developing the product up front. It was definitely past just the idea phase, because it was going to take such a significant investment that we'd worked on through college. And so we just wanted to give it our best. And so I remember Adam and I, filming each other in our hotel room the day before, kind of nervous, trying to get those jitters out, speaking too quickly, body language, and even talking about how we wanted to communicate. If they asked this, let's focus in on this aspect. This could be unclear, so let's make sure we include this aspect as well. And WashU is on a huge green space campus. It's amazing how much just natural wildlife there, not wildlife, but just greenery there is there. And so we even just took a break when we got nervous to walk around campus and just walk and talk through some of those things. So I really felt like by the time we went to pitch, we had done our due diligence to think about, here's what they might ask, here's how we could communicate that in a clear fashion. and represent the business that we are excited about well.
Okay, I'm dying to know how they used the $50,000, Doug. And Adam, I wonder if you gave any of it to David to help market the product.
Totally. That's actually a great place to start. David, you want to talk about marketing?
Sure. One of the things that also is beneficial about the competition is when you're going to present yourself to a list of expert judges, which is what WashU brings in, you really start to think in a detailed way about what you want to do with things. So because we knew we'd have to have that up front, I'd say we did a pretty good job of forecasting what our top priorities were going to be. And one was just doubling down on one of our biggest wins, which is just trade journals and magazines, where we have a super high density of our writers. It's not a huge channel, but we just know if we can pay for the whole year up front and get 20% off on ads that are already performing very well, that's a win for us. So that was a meaningful allocation size. There also was some experimental work on things that we were doing with marketing, saying, hey, let's try this channel. I think probably maybe the most interesting nugget of things that we tried that maybe a growth stage company might be interested in is trying to make a custom targeting audience through Instagram lists. So I can't technically target you just because you follow someone on Instagram, but we can scrape all the emails from someone that follows that person and then port that into Facebook to create a custom audience of those accounts as kind of a workaround for a special type of targeting. And that turned out to be useful for us because Facebook's default category of bicycle tour isn't actually what we're looking for. And so making more well-defined distinctions between who is and isn't our customer, and then doing some experimental campaigns with that, I think was really, really helpful.
And the audience who's watching us right now, most of probably is considering entering this contest and is a student or otherwise out there with an idea. And you enter these contests and you're like, maybe we'll get picked, maybe we won't. I mean, we're actually talking to the winners here who made it all the way through. But what were your strategies to to even catch our attention? Advice for others that are entering this contest.
That's a great question. And I remember going through the application process and how it wasn't just one submission. I think it was 2 or 3 submissions before we even knew we were going to WashU. And one of the main areas I think we emphasized was traction in the business, in the sense that this wasn't our first rodeo in terms of presenting the technology, or even the first time we've tried to have the technology with an application. We were working on PedalCell from being a freshman in college. And from that point, we were targeting business to business, direct to consumer, refining those demographics over time. And really, we just kind of developed that and put that on paper and said, here was our journey from where we started. And here's why we're very confident in not only the product we have now, but in terms of the audience we're targeting and why we're solving such a big problem for them. And obviously for some startups that may not have the background we did when we started, but I think emphasizing the research you've done, or any sort of traction or validation you've done on your idea, and why you've disproven maybe some claims or possible risks with the business is super valuable. So I don't think anyone should stray away from showing that you're a subject matter expert in the field, and you've done the hard nuts and bolts and the research of looking at your market and developing a solution that solves a critical problem for it.
Do you want to add anything, David, to that?
I guess just adding on to Adam's point, if I were to put that in short form, if I were applying to this competition again with, let's say, a new business interest, and most businesses are early phase, so again, I don't think that should be intimidating, but you want as much as possible to think about, how can I develop some sort of MVP that shows I have the actual ability to execute on this? I think that was a big strength for PedalCell, specifically in hardware, which not a lot of companies are getting into because it's really hard to build hardware at scale. And having gone through that was more time for us, but even for a software company, get an MVP that does something in a meaningful way. And then I think, to a second point, validate your market, have some, have high level research about what you're doing, but if you haven't talked to at least 10 people in your industry and that you can reference and talk about to show that some of that domain knowledge, I'd say that would be something I would try to maybe even squeeze in before the competition, because I think that's going to help give credibility to what you're doing and the validity of the business.
And John, as a judge and as an entrepreneurship professor, we teach the 3 T's a lot: team, tech, and traction. And the greatest of these is traction. And I got that impression from you, John, watching these and watching the finalists. Like, it's not so much that you have to have a launched product and you're perfect and you have revenue and such like that, but speaking to the fact that you're real somehow, which is I think a lot of what Adam and David were just talking about. I'm assuming, John, that's what caught your attention too as a judge.
Yeah. No, they checked every one of those boxes. First off, they had the three key presenters. They were all there together. They were very much a team, and you got the sense that they really interacted and connected with each other well. They clearly had traction. I believe you even rented a bike and put the device on the bike so that you would show us what it really was like, and so you had a visual image of what you were talking about, which I think is important to any business idea, whether it's a prototype or the real thing if you're further along. And clearly you had traction, you had distribution, you had manufacturing, you would solve early technical problems and getting the device to work. So you're further along. And one other thing you had is, even though you have a relatively limited market that prevents real scaling for the idea, you develop technology that can be deployed for other uses and leveraged in different ways to grow the company in the future. And that was a really important element of why you guys won, besides the fact that you're all cool guys.
That helps too. And in those three T's, team, tech, and traction, there's actually a bonus T, and most venture capitalists would say that it's actually most important, unfortunately. And the other T is called total addressable market, meaning how big is this potential customer base? Because I can give you so much money, so much time, etc. But if there's not that many customers, we're not going to be that big of a company. And how do you guys think about that? I mean, this for bicycles, that's smaller. This I think it's for folks that are riding more long distances, yet smaller. How do you think about that T, total addressable market?
The only thing I'll throw in is, I think there's really a tension that you feel as an early stage entrepreneur between two ideas. One is the TAM that you talked about to be a big company. The second is sort of the idea that is pretty in vogue now and has a lot of truth to it, which is don't be liked by everyone, delight a small group of customers when you're starting out. And when you're small, it's very, very difficult to absolutely delight a huge audience. And so finding a smaller group that is really passionate about your product. I mean, at PedalCell, we get emails all the time saying, I had no other option. This has changed the way that I ride, the best alternative. You're cheaper and better performing. I mean, the people that love us, I remember we sent out an email when we had, an issue with product, and hey, we're working really hard as a team, but we had some fallback. And the support from our customer base was just incredible. They're super happy our company exists, and that group of customers is really happy that it's there. But to your point, Doug, you do start to reach a ceiling if you can't figure out how to expand from that point. And I think a lot of where PedalCell's at is, hey, we've delighted some customers, and how do we grow that? Because that is going to be the future of the company.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that we talk about too is it's in the T of tech, if you will, is what problem that you're solving. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the problem that you're solving is there's many other uses of your technology, but I'm a long distance bike rider, and if the battery goes out on my phone, I'm lost, right? I don't have GPS. I don't know where I am. Am I describing that problem?
Yeah, in a nutshell, for sure. And I think another part of it too is the emotional component of how, for a lot of folks, if they want to design their long distance trip around stopping at a gas station, they could do that. But that's just gonna, in a sense, limit the whole adventurousness and the being spontaneous on your trip, which is the whole reason why people do this. People don't do this to be stopping at gas stations and going around like these very industrial areas. They do it to explore nature. And so in a sense, our product, yes, we're allowing you to charge your phone, charge your lights, but we're allowing you to take the trip you want to take without having that nagging voice in the back of your head saying like, my stuff's going to die. I got to find the nearest McDonald's to charge up.
Right. And I'm curious if you guys agree with this, that sometimes people are like, well, why do I want to enter a competition, right? Versus talk to VCs or raise money or customers. But I find that framing your story, like you just did right there, for these types of competitions, you end up reusing it in your marketing. You end up reusing it in other pitches. You end up reusing it to get people to come work for you. Have you found that similar types of experiences just in the storytelling around the problem?
Totally.
I would
Yeah.
definitely add on to that. I mean, I think the obvious example is other pitches or VCs, but Doug, I love that you brought up the example of, even team building. I mean, we brought on an engineering intern this year to do some R&D as we're working on future products. And part of what was really compelling as we're trying to get, enough applicants that we can pick good talent from schools and, universities in our area, was having this be an exciting startup and making sense. And we really got a lot of interest, I think, in the company, and we're able to get a really, really good intern because there was a good story with it that made sense, and thought, oh, this is an exciting product to be a part of.
Yeah.
I wonder if you feel I'm sorry,
No,
recreate the moment that you won.
Might what?
Recreate the moment you won the contest.
That was a lot of balloons.
My heart was just in my stomach, and I remember for anyone that hasn't seen the contest, the 3 finalists are lined up and they're going to announce the winner, and there's a giant set of balloons hanging over you, and there's like all these cameras pointing at you, and it's this big final reveal. And then it was killing me because it was their first time doing it. I remember Doug said the winner is, and then they had to like restart it for a camera or something, so then he had to go through the whole thing again, and I was just dying. I just, it was, so that was hard on my end. But I remember just thinking, I really don't know how this is going to go. If one of the other teams win, and it's cool, you get to connect with the teams. I just want to be happy and supportive and positive and appreciate how far we've came. And if we win, I want to be able to lean into that and enjoy the specialness of this moment. And so when we heard PedalCell, I remember, even though I knew it was possible because there was only 2 other teams, just it feeling surreal as, the camera shots went and things fell down. And it was just an amazing moment to experience with the team. Definitely went on my Instagram, and it was just really, really special.
I remember you see the balloons and you're like, oh, well, you have an idea of what that's going to feel like. When the balloons actually fall, it has a very special sensation. And I also remember too, one thing that took us off guard is within probably like 30 seconds to a minute of that happening, we still have this big check in our hands that we're barely holding on to. They're like, all right, let's rearrange the chairs. We got to sit down with John now. And we're like, what is going on? And we did this interview that was awesome. And I think if you watch that interview again, a lot of that was like raw emotion. We were still like, so much adrenaline was pumping from that announcement. So it was like that caught us completely off guard. We didn't even know we were going to be talking to anyone after our pitch. So it was, I think that was also like a very cool moment.
I remember I had so much energy, we had to return the bike that we'd rented for the demo. I just offered just to no drive, just ride the bike back and then run back from the bike shop to campus. Cause I just, I had to do something with all this excess energy I had.
Oh, that's awesome. Right. Well, as we wrap up here, any final advice for folks that are entering this contest? Any quick advice that you would give them?
From my perspective, I think it is best to use these competitions. Obviously, I think when a lot of people enter, they're doing it. It's like they see a cash prize, be like, what could that do for my business? And for sure, like, monetary value does have benefit, but I think using it as an opportunity to really test assumptions and talk to the judges and take the time to get the advice on what might be, for some people, the first time they're ever pitching this business to a public audience, and really test those assumptions and to say, does our narrative make sense? Does our problem make sense? Does our solution line up? And really use it as an opportunity to get a very critical voice on your business and to know clearly what are the next steps to take to the next level. Because frankly, every single judge we met had a very useful perspective in terms of bringing something to the table and saying, I think X or Y would be extremely useful for PedalCell. And I know we've implemented some of that over the past year. So definitely take it as an opportunity to test your assumptions and to, of course, have fun, because it is a very fun experience and you feel a bit like a movie star during the whole thing.
And I would add, just apply. I know there's some effort to put in an application, but I mean, first of all, the program is very generous. I mean, a $50,000 cash prize is a pretty big prize, and they cover all the expenses. And I mean, it's very, very generously done. The time you put into the application financially alone, I think you should take the effort for it, even if you feel some friction to do there. And the second piece I would just say is what Doug touched on, which is you're going to have, if you want to be a leader in your business, you have to be able to understand the business, to tell a story of the business, and playing those roles is only going to get strengthened by going through this process. And so I think that the return is there, but also I think it's an experience that's really valuable to develop yourself as a leader in your business if you're trying to found something.
And Doug, we're going to do this again, and I can't wait to see who is going to be the next PedalCell.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last year. Or John, we're really proud to have these guys come back and give us an update on their business. Congratulations both for winning the contest, but on where you progressed in the business itself. And somebody listening to us, John, is going to be the next PedalCell to win this competition. So we're super excited, and QR code here and all that types of stuff to enter. But January 15th is the deadline.
And then we will invite ultimately the 3 finalists to St. Louis to be on the campus of the Olin Business School at Washington University in late March, and to undergo the excitement of what Adam and David felt a year ago, which I just can't wait to see. And I should mention that we'll have a larger range of finalists that we'll announce even before then. We'll invite our readers to vote for a favorite. So a lot of ideas will actually get some publicity and some traction, even if you're not invited to the campus for the final 3, which is really cool.
That's right. Well, thanks for being with us today, guys. It's great to check in on you, and thanks, John, for having us.
Fantastic to see the 2 of you, and to see that you're successful and that you put the good use to the $50,000 prize. That's super. Now, we should mention, Doug, that the event is a pitch contest. It's open to all current undergraduate and graduate school students, as well as any prospects interested in pursuing a graduate business degree. That is the core demographic that the contest is aimed after, which is, after all, a pretty large group of people out there.
Yeah.
We know that, ideas are the currency of the day. Good ideas and entrepreneurship is very hot and continues to be hot on college campuses all over the world. I should mention again that we received submissions from how many different countries? It was amazing, really. It was
dozens, and yeah, just amazing. And the initial entry is not that difficult. It's basically answering these questions like, what's your problem? What's your solution? Who are your competitors? Very simple like that. And then in subsequent rounds, it's videos and interviews and such like that. But just to get started is very simple. John, the students who have business ideas have answers to the questions that we're asking to get started. So there's not a lot holding you back.
I bet you it takes no more than 10 minutes to fill out the initial application.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But the more thoughtful you are, especially with the storytelling, the better, because you've got to catch our attention.
Indeed. Well, we'll be looking for your submissions. And David and Adam, thank you so much for joining us. And Doug, a pleasure as always to see you. Soon enough, I will be seeing you in person.
Yep.
And seeing what really the next PedalCell might be like. I can't wait.
That's right. Congrats again, guys. Great to see you.
Thank you.
All right. And for everyone out there, thanks for watching. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants.